Thank you all so much for being here. As you may or may not know, my name is Sylvia Hadnot, and I am the co-chair of the E3 Washington board, along with my colleague Derek Hoshiko. Derek, maybe you can give a little wave. Thanks. And today we're really excited to officially kick off the E3 Washington 2021 virtual conference. I know some of you were able to make it yesterday, some of you weren't. And that was really kind of our E3 Washington day to show you all what's going on within our organization for you. And the rest of the conference is your time. It's time for you all to show up and show each other what you've been up to and show us. And it's going to be really good. So before we get any further, I wanted to start with a land acknowledgement. And I have done a lot of thinking about land acknowledgements over the past few years. When the idea was first shared to me, I thought it was awesome, and I still think it's awesome. And I also didn't really know how to do one that didn't feel prescribed or packaged, or kind of just like, oh yeah, check it off the list, we did the land acknowledgement. But how can I really acknowledge the people and the land who were the original inhabitants here and are still here? And so I did a little bit of digging and a little bit of history finding out about the area around where I live. So I live in Seattle, Washington. I live nearby to what is now known as South Lake Union, AKA Facebook and Google land. And I learned that the Duwamish folks actually have a story on their website that is about the land that's nearby to where I live.
I'm trying to get my speakers connected.
Oh, Kim, I think your speakers are connected. Thank you. And so I am going to read aloud to you this story. And some of these words that are in this story are in the Lushootseed language. And I am not very good at pronouncing Lushootseed, so I'm going to try, and I'm going to do my best. So Sheshiahud was a renowned Duwamish chief and travel guide to Lake Union, Lake Washington, and Lake Sammamish in the days before roads were built in the city of Seattle and its suburbs of the east side. Sheshiahud was the leader of a Duwamish village on Lake Union. Sheshiahud had a cabin and a potato patch on land given to him by pioneer David Denny at the foot of Shelby Street as late as 1900. Duwamish people living in villages along the shores of Lake Washington were collectively known as Hashu Absh, that is, people of Hashu, meaning a large lake, referring to present-day Lake Washington. Sheshiahud's village was named Heshkuikwil, Skate, and was located at Edgewater Park near the point at the south edge of the mouth of Union Bay onto Lake Washington. One longhouse there may have been used as a potlatch house. This village was occupied by the influential group known as Shluwheel Absh, who took their name from Shluwheel, literally a tiny hole drilled to measure the thickness of a canoe, the narrow passage through the resource-rich Union Bay marsh. The Duwamish in this area had a portage from Lake Washington to Lake Union called Squakuwit, portage in Lushootseed, the Puget Sound Salish language. This is a vital passage from the coast into the lakes and river system, all the way up to Issaquah and beyond. Just east of the mouth of the Arboretum Creek, called Slalal, Fathom, was the Duwamish village Hikwalalal, Big House, the longhouse of cedar boards at Edgewater Park. Offshore on today's Foster Island was the Duwamish burial ground, Sitisi, where the dead were placed in boxes tied up in the branches of trees. I'm going to stop here, but what I will do is share with you in the chat a link to that page so you can keep reading. And I want to share with you a little bit about why that felt like an appropriate land acknowledgement. To me, this is land that's really close by me. And I can see actually to this day the essences and the remnants of these people. If you read along in the story, you'll find out that eventually Chief Sheshiahud actually ended up moving to the Suquamish Reservation. And part of the reason for that is because the Duwamish were actually never federally recognized. There's a story that's been told that it has something to do with the fact that they didn't have a chief for 6 months in the 80s. But I really rest on this different story. And a land that's as resource rich as Big Lake, Lake Washington and Lake Union, it makes sense, if you can think of it from an exploitative point of view, why somebody would not actually want to honor the people of the land and why they would want to take it for themselves. And so I believe that the Duwamish deserve a reservation, and their reservation actually would be right where I live right now, if they were federally recognized. And we'll see if it's possible for the government to do the right thing and recognize that. And at this time, I am going to pass the invisible mic talking piece over to my honorable co-chair, Derek Hoshiko.
Thank you so much for honoring the land and acknowledging and kind of leading us through that process. It's really beautiful, and it's so great to see what everyone has shared in the chat. So thank you. So my name is Derek Hoshiko. I use he, him pronouns based in Northwest Washington on occupied Snohomish land. I have the honor of welcoming you, each and every one of you, and those who aren't able to attend right now, to the 2021 E3 Washington Conference. For over 30 years, this organization has existed, and it's such an incredible journey through being the Environmental Education Association of Washington, and then now E3 Washington. But it's kind of exciting that I and at least one other board member have been on the board for over 10 years. So it's kind of odd that the share of the total time of the existence of the organization I've been on the board, and in the last 3 years have had the honor of co-chairing with Sylvia. And I'll just say, just getting started after one day and seeing where we're at and how everything's come together and what is planned, I'm looking forward to this being the most successful conference that I can remember in the 10 years that I've been here, and that organizational memory can remember from the few years prior to that. And that we're doing this during a global pandemic and during a climate emergency is a testament to how passionate folks on the attending the conference are about what we can be doing together and what great work already is happening. I don't know about you all, but I've been feeling this energetic shift toward real change, the real deep, hard systemic change that we all know that we need if we're going to survive and if we're going to restore the ecosystems and mitigate the climate crisis. So a little history. I got involved in E3 Washington during the E3 process, which happened in, I believe, 2006, 2007. And it was this incredible process that was a tour of 19 counties and had town halls in 19 different counties, engaging over 2,000 Washingtonians across a variety of sectors, informal education, formal ed, K through 12, higher ed, small business, local governments, nonprofits, kind of a wide range of folks to do a visioning process for what does environmental and sustainability education mean and look like in the state. And it was a really inspiring process to see the building of a consensus and the output from that process. It so inspired me that a couple of years later, I accepted the invitation to join the board. And this process, kind of at the center of it is, how do we include communities in the work of environmental and sustainability education? And how do we make the connections with research, make the connections across all the different sectors of the people who are involved in that visioning exercise. And that vision has really carried itself through to where we're at now. So I came at the organization originally from the small and medium-sized local business perspective. And at the time I was chairing a business association. And I was a small business owner, and my own journey has really evolved since then. Fast forward to 2015, we did the Woods to Water conference, which was this incredible opportunity to disrupt the status quo and really lean into equity and thinking, okay, how can we do a conference that centers equity? And that was a great experience and exercise in and how to do that. And then we've also had this, E3 Washington. What are the three E's? Equity, environment, and the economy. But then there's the education too. Like, that's what we're here for. And so how do you get 4 E's out of 3? And that was this like riddle for so many years. And I think it might have been Claudia, who's on the call now, who unlocked the 3 E's. And it's educators for the environment, equity, and the economy. And that just blew my mind open. And it's kind of weird that I'm saying this, but it really made a difference in understanding who it is that we serve and what we're here for. And it was also exciting around the same time frame to be a part of E3 Washington and then being a part of a coalition of folks, 20 different people from around the state and from around the field, to be in the governor's office and advocate for what became Climb Time. And that now we've had Climb Time for a few years, and it's been such an incredible journey. So those are a few pieces of history folks may or may not know that I wanted to share. And just as part of the recent journey, being in this exploration around being willing to make mistakes or acknowledging where we've made mistakes, righting the wrongs of the past, and being accountable. So another key piece is understanding that this is that all of the work that I see us doing is a story about growing in leadership, and that this kind of new realization that I've had about leadership as relationships and connecting. So in working with Sylvia as co-chair, how are we developing and growing in our leadership? How am I supporting Sylvia in her leadership? In the youth groups that I work with, how am I supporting leadership within the youth groups? How am I being supported by elders in the community or by other board members in the organization, by folks like each and every one of you who are offering different pieces? So how do we build and rise together? So it's really been a cool space to be in the practice of leadership, and that we have been on this journey of committing full throttle to JEDI, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and the practice of decolonization. And none of this work could have been done alone. It's really been with the support and trust of so many people, and really, especially our board. So we've also used this practice of building technical tools like software, or use how we structure our notes, or how we use Zoom, and that there's these technical tools that relate to the human-centered tools, that we're always building these human tools and practices with each other, and how we use the technical tools, but that they're done in synergy with each other, and we're not owned by the technology, but we're also making sure that we're connecting as humans and building trust, building respect, building practice, and getting to know each other. So that all with this equity lens, and making equity first, and having that be a part of committees and board meetings, and how we work on all of our communications. And then also that we're willing to talk about our feelings, and that for a business meeting, that can be a challenge, but how we are able to reconnect to our humanity. So those are some of the kinds of principles in which we've been in this practice of leadership. So another one is the can-do spirit. We've really worked to break past the scarcity mentality that often can happen when doing nonprofit work. So it's been confronting ourselves, and I'll speak for myself, confronting myself to engage in opportunities whenever they present themselves. And, instead of, well, do we have the capacity to take this on, or can we really do this, and kind of have that scarcity mentality versus, wow, there's this opportunity. How can I challenge myself, or how can we work together to get this done? And so that has allowed us to reach across the whole state of Washington. It's allowed us to have two people of color at the helm of E3 Washington. When we took over as the co-chairs of the organization, we placed a moratorium on new board members while we built those relationships, while we developed equity analysis, while we got ourselves rolling on our shared equity journey. And that really allowed us to have the board we want. It allowed Sylvia and I to create a space that is safe, and that from that we could move forward. So we had a great board before, and this year we have onboarded several new board members. Thank you, board members, for joining and helping take us to the next place, to take us where we are now. And so now we have an even greater board, and it's so exciting. We formed a committee structure, and many of those on the call now and those in the audience have participated in our committee structure, and that's allowed us to engage not just the 15 board members that we have, but over 30 people from around the state who are also leading on environmental and sustainability education. We've reinvigorated our relationship with Clearing Magazine. We're working collaboratively with Clearing Magazine to get a new issue out, hopefully soon. It's going to be entirely Jedi focused, and it's really exciting. I had the privilege of seeing an early version of it that still has the boxes being filled in. And we have built relationships with affiliate leaders in Oregon and Alaska. We've continued our work with the EPA and the North American Association for Environmental Education, reestablished our social media presence. We have created a membership program, and thank you to those of you who are members now and those who will become members soon. We have a quarterly members only newsletter. We've rebuilt our email list from near zero, and after this conference, I expect that we'll be able to reach over 700 people. And that is just in the last 2.5, 3 years that we've been able to do that. We redesigned the website. I think it's really exciting, the design. Thank you to Dana Bowers, one of our former board members, who helped make that happen. And we've implemented, as I mentioned, the technology tools that supercharge our best practices. We're not serving the tools are serving us, particularly Google Suites for Nonprofits and Salesforce. And there's a lot more work to do to truly create the transformation within the ESE field in particular, and the educational system in general. I think we have this opportunity for transformation. And so our flagship offerings with the annual conference and the new statewide equity community of practice that we learned about yesterday, and the incredible team that put that together, Sylvia, Leah, Ray, Amy, and Katie, members of the E3's equity committee, have formed a subcommittee to develop this community of practice offering that'll be launching in January. That's a 6-month workshop. It's really exciting. This is going to be our best conference yet, with 54 sessions. We have over 200 registered attendees, which is a huge growth over last year. And we have this incredible lineup of sponsors who've helped to make this conference happen. Thank you to them. We are connected. We are collaborative. We are centering equity. We are learning about how to go beyond climate change education, it's the dance step. It's what we need to be doing, chopping wood and carrying water, doing climate change education. But we can go beyond that and realize the need to incorporate the community and work on realizing this vision that we established in 2007, and that has continued to evolve and will continue to evolve. And we're realizing how nature-based and outdoor education have been such a key to surviving the pandemic, and how we can and must transition our economy from one that is extractive to one that is regenerative. And so we're learning how to incorporate models and frameworks from other sectors and from other movements, such as the climate justice movement and the just transition framework. And so how we build and rise together, share practices, get to know each other, and have a great conference. So welcome to E3 Washington's 2021 conference. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for everyone that helped make this happen.
Thank you so much, Derek. I know Derek will probably hate this, but please feel free to give some snaps. And I see some of you are giving rounds of applause as well. And before we transition into more of an interactive activity, we wanted to take a moment just to honor all of the board members who are here in this meeting who make it possible. So board members, could you give a little wave? And if you don't have your camera on, board members, now is a great time, unless you're scrambling, doing something to last minute prepare, because a lot of us are doing that. So thank you, Courtney, thank you, Elizabeth, thank you, Roberta, thank you, Claudia. I think Brad is here too. Thank you, Brad. Yes, and thank you, Catherine, former board member. I see you have your clapping hands. And also just a preemptive thank you to any of you that are in the audience that might become board members eventually. All right, Courtney, you want to take it away?
Hi, everybody. I'm Courtney Sullivan. I've been the conference chair this year, and I just really wanted to take time to shout out to our 2021 virtual conference committee members. This year, Sierra Hunziker, Nicole Corbo, Kelly Bjarn, Miranda Johnson were rock stars and were external committee members. And then I'd like to thank our board members, the whole board, who really supports this whole conference. But specifically, we have board member task leads who were rock stars. And so I want to send a big thanks to Claudia, Elizabeth, Brad, Jody, Derek, Sylvia, Susan, Chase, and Roberta. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the 2021 virtual conference. It's going to be amazing.
Thank you so much, Courtney. And audience members, again, feel free to add a round of applause as a thank you to all the people who made this conference possible. Elizabeth, I think it's your turn.
I just want to echo my thanks and gratitude to Sylvia, Derek as our co-chairs, and to Courtney as our chair of this conference. It's been amazing. It's amazing to work with you and the whole board. And thanks to everyone who submitted a session proposal and is presenting at the conference, because your proposals are what really make this event great. So we have a number of people who are, for the first time, I think, possibly joining our event. And I want to recognize and thank you for that, and also ask for your help with a project that E3 has been supporting me to develop. So we're working on a community asset map, and we hope that this will feed into a larger mapping effort that I'm working on through the environmental literacy plan, with a lot of support from people on this meeting. So the map is in Google, and here in a minute, Sylvia is going to share her screen. We're going to show you where it is, and we're going to ask for you to find the map and look on the left-hand side to see it, or on the map itself to see if your organization is already there. If the organization is already represented on the map, then we're going to ask you, I'm going to give you directions for how to check to make sure all the information is current. And if you aren't on the map yet, we would like to invite you to add a point on the map. And I'll give you directions for how to do that too. So again, this is just an opportunity for us to grow a visual representation of what's happening with environmental and sustainability education across the state. and to make sure that everybody's included who wants to be a part of it. So Sylvia has navigated to where the map lives so that you can see where it is on our website. And she's going to do that once more. So you go to resources, click the drop down there, and then click Washington ESE Providers Interactive Map. That will open. And you can see actually right there that this map was generated by our conference participants last year, and it has been static since then. We are really trying to just concentrate when we update the map. We didn't want to leave it open for editing at any time. So this is a once in a year thing that hopefully will make an annual effort while we work to launch something even broader and more integrated. So you can see here some of the information. Oh, that's okay, Sylvia. You can just leave it unshared. But you can see that, for example, Foss Waterway is on there, and you can see the information that they provided and the lat long for them. All right, so now, Sylvia, if you wouldn't mind to switch over to the slide deck, and you all are going to get copies of these instructions. So the first thing you'll do if you're going to add an entry, is you're going to look for that little bitty balloon icon, and you're going to click on it. When you click on it, next slide, please, you will see a box pop up, and it will have 2 editable spots. It'll say point whatever number. That's where you're going to put the title of your organization. I think you can actually go to the next slide, Sylvia. So you'll put your organization up in the top box, and then primary contact info and a very brief description, 1 sentence, because you can see that the box is very small, and we want a very broad description that will remain applicable for a year at least, right? So after you have your website, primary email address, phone number, organization name, you're going to click Save. And when you do that, the blue balloon will pop up. Voila. You've created a new marker. Yay. And it will have your own information in it. And then your last step, next slide, please, is to actually click on the itty bitty tiny paint bucket that you probably can't even see in this shared slide deck, but I promise you it's there. And when you click on that, this little box will pop up and you can pick your color. So we actually have a color coding scheme here. And if you are serving only a local area, like maybe a city or a county or a particular school district, you would click purple. We're not too hung up on the shade of purple. We're trying to get somewhat consistent. You will see it's not totally consistent. Likewise, if you're offering regional service, like maybe you serve all of Northwest or Southwest Washington, you would click orange. And then if you offer statewide service, and that would include a federal agency that serves all of Washington state, you would use the green color. And let's see, there might be one more slide, Sylvia. Oh, this is going to bring us to, oh, nope, I think I hid, sorry. So Sylvia is going to drop a couple of links. One is going to be, or Derek is, thank you, Derek. So the first one is those directions that I just went through for you all, so you can access them as you're doing this map. And then for those of you who already have a point on the map, I'd like you to navigate to your location, and you're just going to click on it to edit, and or you're going to click on it and make sure everything's current. If it's not, you can basically follow the same steps that I just went through, except you'll hit edit location, and then you'll make any updates to your website, primary contact info, or organization's description. So the second link is to the editable map. I want to reassure everybody, we made a copy of the 2020 map and turned it into this editable map. So you can't mess anything up too much. Don't worry about it. It's a low pressure situation. And a great opportunity to practice some new tech skills if you haven't worked in Google Map before.
Welcome, everyone, and good morning. My name is Roberta McFarland, and I have the privilege and pleasure of serving on the E3 Washington's board. And I was asked to give some closing remarks for this morning. And our title of our conference is Wisdom from the Field, Lessons from the Heart. And I think as our first day, we are beginning with our keynote speaker, who is the author of Braiding Sweetgrass. And her whole story and book is about connecting to place. And I want to say here in Washington, we have a gorgeous place with many public lands that serve to inspire and enrich us every day. So as we, part of the E3 community, educating for equity, the economy, and the environment, it is about the trees, the plants, the animals, the people that are here now, the people that have been here since time immemorial and guardians of our beautiful land, that I would like you all to enter into this conference with a sense of curiosity and a sense of you're going to discover ways that others have engaged people into the place that we call Washington. So be curious, think about within and outside your safe place, your organization, build a better world through these connections that you're going to be offered throughout the day. Robin Wall Kimmerer talks about keepers of the fire. And I think that all of us in environmental education are keepers of the fire, and that we need to share our spark to create more fires throughout the state with our family, our colleagues, and the youth of Washington. She also talks about ceremonies being ways to remember to remember. So I look forward to remembering with all of you and how we can remember to remember the sense of place that feeds and nourishes us all. So our world leaders are meeting in Glasgow now, and hopefully they've had some ceremonies so that they can remember why they're there. And I know the protesters and students on the outside are holding them accountable. What ways are we going to hold each other accountable as we start and connect each other and our students and our families and our colleagues to this sense of place that we call Washington? So thank you and have a great conference. Enjoy and embrace, be curious and discover, ask thoughtful questions, and be open to listen to what others are thinking. And on that, I say, time to break out.
Wow. Thank you so much, Roberta. That was so lovely and honestly very activating. So this is hard to follow, Roberta's, but I have some news I'd like to share before you enter the breakout rooms. Unfortunately, Dr. Robin Wall Kimmerer is ill today and unable to attend a live speech as she has lost her voice. However, there is a new plan. We will still be having our keynote address today via a pre-recorded video of her that actually is not really been seen much. So we're still getting a great opportunity to see something others haven't. And we will still be opening with the land acknowledgement and welcome from John Claymore, the Executive Director of the Office of Native Education at the Office of Superintendent and Public Instruction. And the best news, best part of this, a live keynote presentation has been rescheduled to Friday, November 19th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So all in all, I think we're actually ending up getting a better deal than we would have otherwise, because now we get to see 2 Robin Wall Kimmerer speeches. So I hope you all will still join us at 10:30 a.m. for the program. And in the meantime, join us in the breakout rooms to play with the asset map. Thanks, everybody.